All right, so I'm attempting to make a Gen 5 Glock 21 MOS compatible holster out of a Glock 17 or 22 duty holster, which is for a light. All right, so part number on this is, I'm trying to do this through the camera lens. Let me just read it off to you. 6390 RDS-832. So looking at the fitment on this ALS stop, where these two like notches are, like you can see that ledge right there, that kind of a J-shaped ledge on both sides. Well, if you take the Glock and you stick it in there, that's actually where it hits. So you can still use, you should still be able to use your ALS system, but these little spacer notches right there, they're kind of J-shaped there and there. I'm going to remove the ALS and Dremel these notches out right here. All right, so you got like two notches on this side, and then, yeah, like two notches on this side. So once I remove these notches, the width of the slide should be able to seat properly. So to do that, first thing I did was pop out this side screw. When you pop that out, this little plate pops up. It's spring captive. All right. So you see it kind of turns itself. All right. So when you're putting it back on, you'll line. Sorry guys. You'll line that spring up into this notch like this, and then you'll turn it back where it has the spring tension, and then pop that back on. To remove it, once you do that, it looks like there's nothing else holding this in place other than pretty much pressure. So I'm gonna go off camera and I'm gonna pop this out. I'll let you know if anything else had to happen. All right, on this side here, this is the only portion that holds the ALS system on this side. The old holsters used to have like a hole up here with a set screw. That's no longer the case. So I think it's just this side and this side which hold it in. So I'll be back. All right, so as you can see, I went ahead and just took the whole holster apart, took off the tourniquet mount, popped out all the little screws. Gives you a lot more flexibility. I'm a pretty stubborn person, but even I know my limitations. So by popping out those two screws, gives me a lot more room to get this out, because this protrudes kind of far. So trying to stretch that out without actually breaking off the ALS holster, I wouldn't recommend it. So yeah, it's more you gotta do, but I say do it right. So unscrewed it. I'm gonna pop this out. All right, so it still took a little bit of effort, but you can get it out. Just if you got something to stick in there to widen it out, I advise popping the long side out first and then getting the shorter side out. So what I was talking about, you can get a little better view. These little ribs here, all right? So when this sits or goes into the holster, all right, again, it'll fit the profile of the ALS itself, but right there, it's contacting those ribs down in there, all right? So I'm gonna take a Dremel and Dremel these little ribs out and just get it flat with that on both sides, and that should allow smooth clearance and still function of the ALS. Now, there's gonna be another process depending on the style holster you have. My duty holster does not have this narrow edge, right? It doesn't narrow down like this as much. It's a lot flatter. So when you go to try to holster this now, let's see if we can get on camera. All right. Let's see, it's hard to do. All right. So now what's happening is, because of the narrowness of where they molded it for the 17, now the slide's not gonna fit. So just take a heat gun and heat up just the top half where this the rib is for the front sight post. Just warm that up, all right? nice till it's pliable. Again, this whole thing is nothing but a piece of Kydex. And just slowly take your time and just widen it out so that you have free movement and the gun will seat properly. Even prior to, well, I guess you can Dremel this first if you wanted to, but I'm gonna do this first, widen this out so the gun seats properly, then I'll come back and I'll Dremel out the ALS system. So just in case anybody was wondering, would a 21 or a 20 work in the Black Hawk T-Series? Still no. The narrowness at the top will not allow the gun to go any deeper into the holster. So yeah, unfortunately, that is not going to be your easy way out of this. So still a good holster. Not a very common gun, but if you happen to have a like a CZ pattern gun, so like here I have an IWI, all right, this does fit here with the TLR1. All right, seats properly. All right, it's a little different draw style with this paddle release on the side, but when it's in the belt, you heard it locked. Proper retention, so pushing forward on the holster, it's not sliding off. All right, engage there. Sorry, again, the gun does slide out, so it does have proper retention for like these CZ style pattern weapons with the TLR1 on them. So those work. It will not work for a Beretta. So if you have like a 92 or anything like that, because of the slide mounted safety or decocker, that profile it gets hung up. Now you could trim back these little wings here, as you can see, especially on your D models. If you trim these wings back, it'll work. But other than that, unless they make one specifically for the Beretta, but I think they only base them off the light, that T-Series still has issues with Berettas as well, but that's a simple fix. If you had something 1911-ish, so like here, I got my platypus. So the platypus would clear, but again, I have a TLR9 on this just because I like the profile, the slim profile compared to like the TLR1, the X300s, because it's a very slim gun. So I just have to get a custom holster made for this one, but great gun, by the way. I highly recommend it. So anyway, once I get this heated back up and stretched out, I will show you guys the final. So as you can see, everything works, it fits. There's no wiggle, there's no play. Got the ALS system back on. All right, so yes, heard it click in. This will clear an optic. I had a Holosun 508T, still had plenty of room. Good retention. All right, everything's still working. Cannot push the holster off. All right, so still have to use that actual ALS system. See, it engages there. So just to recap everything, went in there, you can see the Dremel took those ribs off the inside there. On the right side, you don't want to completely remove the rib. You want to leave a little bit because that's what actually locks the ALS system in. It actually catches in right here on the side of the slide. So you don't want to Dremel all of the right side off. You want to leave some of that so it still have that retention point. But the left side, you can smooth that out nice and even. As far as that rib where the front sight post was, but it was very narrow, what you do is take your gun, put your light on it, take a pin or something, put it across the top, tape it down, get you a heat gun, warm it up. Probably took about 3 minutes, if that. Just keep moving it back and forth so you don't burn a hole into your holster. Warm that up, it'll start to bubble out itself a little bit. Take that take your gun, just drive it down deep in the holster, and just let it sit there for about a minute or two. Pop your gun out. If you're impatient like me, you can run some cold water on it, let it get set. right? But you can see this side, it was still a little pronounced at the very front, but you can see like where this ledge is, it used to run like that on both sides all the way back. So put that 21 in, and it took the mold nice and easy. From there, pop your ALS back in, before, the ALS system back in. From there, I would go ahead and check your fit before you start putting any screws back in. Understand, when you put this ALS back in, unlike me, make sure that the actual ALS is on the outside. Don't leave the whole lever inside. Make sure you still have that outside over the edge of the holster. Check it for fit, of course, until you put your spring back in. The function as far as of it snapping back is not going to work, but at least you can slide the gun in just to make sure you have proper clearance. At that point, you're good to go. Throw your spring back on, throw your bolt back in. Then if you want to test proper retention, making sure that your ALS was returning to the correct position. Pretty simple. Wasn't that bad at all. So again, if you are just picked up a Glock Gen 5, either 20 or 21, running an MOS, and you want an actual duty holster, the Safariland 17 holster works. Just need a Dremel and a heat gun. So you can see it, 6390 RDS-832. It's for a Glock 17 or 21. I think what it says on here, stream light. So all in all, maybe take you an hour. So if you got everything on hand, shouldn't take you that long.